Do you really think your new Sequoia can handle steep roads? This thing is too big, I said, taking another sip of Stan's Wicked Ale and continued. Of course, you need legroom under the steering wheel because you are so lanky. But I don't know Ted. I would never drive one on Turkey Track. I could barely get through there in my old Land Bruiser, which weighs half as much. Toxic late afternoon light seeped through the fig trees, another typical summer day in Los Angeles in the early 21st century. I leaned back on the lounge chair next to Ted. We watched our wives swim in Ted and Alice's backyard pool in bikinis. This time they didn't grind their teeth at each other. Mountains loomed over our Pasadena. Neighborhood choked with smog. Hey, they told me this thing can go anywhere and I'm going to test. It. Ted drank a Toots Chief malt and burped loudly. Yes, I'm ready for Turkey Track. I don't care about these horror films. More power. The worst road in Anza-Barrigo Desert State Park between San Diego and the Salton Sea includes several climbs that resemble a bird's paw print, hence the name Turkey Track. The best of these steep nightmare routes is riddled with huge holes and steep drop-offs. Often, while slowly crawling upward, only 3 wheels touch the ground. My cautious wife refuses to go to such places. She gets out of the car and waits until I slide into the abyss. This has never happened before. For now, listen, Anza-Barrigo is not the best place for a test drive. I'm sure you'll never drive through Fat Man in a narrow place. Even a Suzuki Samurai requires a lot of lubrication to slide through the narrow gap between the rocks. I took another sip of Wicked Ale and hoped that he would at least think about this logical argument. Ted opened a new can of Toots Chief and took a big sip. Okay, smart guy, where do you suggest we go for the Memorial Day weekend? And don't tell me you can look at the Angelic Cross. It's the route of the weaklings, and it's always packed with weaklings in jeeps, samurai, and soldiers. Ted's wife Alice, a respected colleague of mine, and a damn good circuit engineer, floated lazily over to us. If you have a problem with weaklings, sweet Teddy, it's your own fault. She gave me a pale, freckled smile and licked her lips. Meaningfully, my wife, naturally dark-skinned Carol, also swam up to us. Hey, we need to give him a break. Honey Alice, he's a man, you know. I think motors are cool, even the ones you work with. She turned and looked at Ted and then turned to me. So tell us, Bobby, what track are you suggesting? Something not too boring for a holiday, right? I thought a little about how to calm Ted down. I know the right place. East of Palm Springs, there are excellent trails to abandoned mines in. The Chuqualla Mountains, they're tough enough to pose a challenge, but they're unlikely to kill us. I took another sip of beer. Most of the area is official wilderness managed by the BLM, but we can use existing roads and dry riverbeds. To Chuqualla, sounds good, Alice said. Yes, it's really very beautiful there, Carol agreed. What agreement between these two? Miracle, 2 couples by the pool. We are Bob and Carol. They are Ted and Alice. We are friends and neighbors here in Pasadena. Alice and I work together. We all caravan together in our Saabs. Our kids play together, go to the same school, and on this already muggy Sunday afternoon are having fun at Carol's parents' house in Burbank. In the Valley, we're raising the next generation of Valley girls, Fougles, rough as can be man. Are we best friends? Not really. Rather, close acquaintances with common interests, such as their swimming pool. We mostly got along with each other, and that's good. Making new friends is hard work. If only Carol weren't so bossy and Ted so unreliable. Meanwhile, we adults had time for ourselves this afternoon and evening. There is not much privacy in this suburban area. The Homeowners Association does not allow high fences. Skinny dipping is only allowed after dark, and even then you have to constantly keep an eye out for nosy neighbors. Damn prudes. So we spent our time wisely, relaxing, joking, flirting, getting a little drunk, talking nonsense, and making plans and fantasies. Ted and I were arguing about our future trip. I'm not sure the women planned to do anything more than just come with us, look pretty, and make fun of each other every chance they got. As usual, we planned a 4-day getaway for Memorial Day. Will it be fun? Ted traded in his 4X4 4Runner for this new Sequoia last week and was very determined to test it out like he even knew what that meant. Although Ted was a normal real estate broker as an SUV driver, he suffered from the illusion of sufficiency. In fact, the Angel's Cross would be a better choice for him, but his ego would never allow him to even think about it. At least he still remembered his first aid from his time in the Army. So he wasn't completely useless on our trips. Our alcohol-fueled poolside get-togethers also led to some arguments: who will bring what and how much, who is responsible for food and equipment, and eternal personal clashes. I'm focused, and Ted is relaxed and carefree. Carol is dominant, and Alice doesn't take any crap. I don't take orders from you, Carol. Leave this to your subordinates. Alice was furious. Carol just naturally took charge whenever she could. This is the reason, not the effect, that she runs her media marketing agency. And this was the result of her legacy. Carolina Carrillo Ortega is a descendant of an old Spanish family that lived in California before it became Mexico. Father Serra founded the California missions in the late 1700s. Carol's ancestors were with him. Hidalgo families cultivate arrogance. It doesn't help modesty that Carol's parents were Hollywood studio bosses, and she grew up as a privileged valley girl. She ruthlessly uses her old group Valgal in her business. She knows exactly how to play the networking game. I love her to death, but sometimes she drives me crazy. Drives everyone else crazy, too, pro or contra. Guys go crazy for her beautiful body until she starts barking orders. Do not cross paths with her. My origins are almost as high. I'm Roberto Pico Ortega, and my family once owned most of what is now Greater Los Angeles, before all the Spanish and Mexican lands were stolen by the gringos. Ah, okay, this is history. I won't be the lizard who brags that his grandfather was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay, it's officially dark now. Take off your swimsuits, Carol called, always ready to show off her lean wheat body at the slightest pretext. Alice frowned a little, but her tiny pieces of her swimsuit immediately ended up on the ground. I stole a glance at Alice's full freckled breasts. Ted's shorts and mine quickly followed the girls' swimsuits. We sat back on our sun loungers. Alice sat sideways on her husband's lap, and Carol sat on my chaise longue, on my hips. Carol caught my gaze with hers. So, Bobby, are we going to swim some more, or are you going to have sex with me again? What again? I joked and pulled her lips to mine. Yes, again. But first you need to get wet. Carol's executive voice did not tolerate any objections. She jumped up, grabbed my hand, and dragged me into the pool. We plopped down there awkwardly. Ted laughed until Alice used a jiu-jitsu technique and drowned him. The darkness made the pool safe for playing. I was pushed away while Ted and Alice tickled Carol. I returned and gave Alice a friendly pat on the ass. I expected Ted to pet Carol in the same way. That was about as far as our illicit interactions went, even if the girls were drinking Chardonnay. Well, maybe a little more unintentional. Breast pinching, but not betrayal, no. We got out of the water and relaxed on the sun loungers. Carol, with some excitement, sat on top of me and brought our bodies closer. I stole a glance at the nearby lounge chair. Alice knelt next to Ted, clearly inspired by our example. Noticing this, Carol also accepted the challenge. We can do better, she said, shifting her position. Our sensations were deep and intense. The moment seemed endless. Meanwhile, Alice and Ted, having regained their energy, switched places and continued with equal passion. I could feel the atmosphere between us all heating up. Ted and I are no longer young. Our strength was not restored so quickly, but this only added intrigue and depth to the moment. The women didn't seem to mind. The longer the moment lasted, the more enjoyable it became for all of us. The alarm clock rang. It's time to get dressed and pick up the kids. Crap. Another work week has begun. Alice and I commuted together to work at Lunadyne, a small aerospace firm near Caltech and NASA JPL. My Beamer buzzed along I-210 at an impressive 10 miles per hour, with emissions up to 15 in the fastest sections. Damn. How I hate Monday mornings. I am the chief hot exhaust engineer at Lunadyne, developing jet and rocket exhausts. Alice is a super-duper circuit designer who designs and develops prototypes of electronic control systems. She's a brilliant techie and a lovely redhead, and a great hiker, but her fiery temperament and limited social skills leave much to be desired. She's not mean enough to be the boss. We have one engineering truth: those who know how, design. Those who don't know how to design, manage. Those who don't know how to manage engineers. I've heard this be true in other technical fields as well. Alice and I are housemates. We work together. We have lunch together. We go to work together. We skinny dip together and play with our companions. We don't have affairs with each other, no affairs. We're not talking about poolside sex. I mean, we were both there, so why? Our conversations during our trips were about work. What our teams were doing, ordinary political, religious, social, economic, cultural things. How humanity destroys itself, and our trips on four wheels past and future. Nice safe themes. Are you ready for summer to start? Alice took a sip of her mocha and looked at the cork. And you really think Ted is ready for a rough ride? In Anzabarigo, not for the world. But in the Chuquala Mountains? Yes, the roads I'm referring to look rough, but are in much better condition. They have to support the weight of the sequoia. Ted has been nurturing the idea of turning our old Forerunner into a new toy for months, and now he has this big sequoia bought with my money. And he's just crazy to try for himself, as if off-road riding is important for his masculinity, as if it confirms his dignity. But he does not like nature very much. She took another sip of mocha. Alice and I both had scouting experiences when we were younger. We had survival skills and improvisation skills. We're engineers, damn it. We build things. Carol and Ted have been privileged city dwellers their entire lives. They seem to have a common motto: let someone else do it. That's why they ran their offices and delegated the dirty work. I'm not a cowboy. I just bought a hat. I sang. Ted rides rough roads to prove he's a tough guy. To do this, he needs a tough car. So he buys one. But this is not enough. I sang again. But a completely different song. But he doesn't have cowboy lips. Alice giggled. Well, yeah, and you have those caballero lips. Same thing. But look where it got you, she pouted. At me. Where I ended up with my Caroline, the girl of my dreams. I laughed. Not so bad, right? Now Alice sighed. Oh, come on, spare me. I know she has an amazing body, but how can you stand this? Bossy Bitch considers himself the commander-in-chief of all damn Pasadena. He commands me all the time. Calmly take a deep breath. Hold your breath. Exhalation. Delay. Inhale. Delay. That's it. That's it. Oh. Fuck you, buddy, she said expressionlessly. I only see her from time to time, and you are always with her. I'm not complaining. I raised the air conditioner temperature 1 degree. The day was getting hot. Hey, am I bothering you with your useless husband? Ted's firm bore his name. But he did little, if any, visible work there. He was officially a broker, but his staff kept the office afloat while he played golf or squash with clients or otherwise performed important management duties. Yeah, Alice admitted. Ted does lead a pretty easy life. But he's really good with kids and has a lot of time for them and running errands. And maybe he's a little insecure since I'm the main breadwinner. You men have such fragile egos. Yeah, okay. I said, let's make a truce. How do you like it? We're back in the safe realm of talking about work. I doubt either of us got much work done that week in early summer before Memorial Day 2001. Oh, sure. We worked hard, but mostly on the planning and logistics of our trip. Alice and I made lists of equipment and sent our companions shopping for the necessary items. Most likely, they sent their workers to do the actual purchasing. That's what workers are for. Right. Our children tried not to notice us as usual, but we also forced them to work. I'll go through the checklist one more time. Dolly, start with why should I do this? When my youngest daughter Dolores, I need to do my homework, right? And you'll take care of it. Right after we're done here. I sometimes think that my daughters are socially retarded. They have not yet learned to manipulate their parents. What's wrong with children today? But you always make me do everything. My little drama queen whine. Why can't Rosie do this? Because Rosalita is helping your mom with her list. We are equal oppressors, you know? So stop complaining and start with your camping gear. Tent, I don't care about you, stupid. Tent, I said firmly. Check the tent. The sooner we're done, the sooner you can do your homework. Watch TV, play games, and call your friends. Yes, you can whine to them about how we're keeping you down. But first, tent. Okay? Okay? Yeah, it's the Sierra Designs tent, the one that smells like moldy nylon crap. I mean junk. Watch your language. Okay, what about posts, pegs, rainflies? And bedding? Yeah, yeah, it's all here. All this stuff. Okay? There's a dozen metal pegs. And none of the posts look bent, and so on. Point by point. We check the camping gear. Tools and spare parts and necessities for the Land Cruiser. Carol and Rosie probably did the same. With kitchen equipment, medical kit, clothing, and supplies. I double-checked the cards and electronics myself. Alice was just as meticulous as I was, and no doubt her own children, Suzanne and Carrie, were going through the same process, except that Daddy Ted wouldn't be much help. Ah, sure. He pretended to check out all the functions of his new 4X4, but he avoided any real work or worry. Let someone else do it. Things were easy. The children will once again stay with Carol's parents, taking all pets with them. No dog, cats, ferrets, or iguanas on this trip. Each couple brought tents and bedding, folding tables and chairs, food and enough water, and extra gasoline, various tools, and portable VHF radios as backup to cell phones. Connectivity and GPS will be spotty and steep. Narrow canyons and radio time is free, while cell phone talk time is not. Non-perishable items were listed and loaded as checkpoints were completed. Careful organization. And engineering style is how adventure becomes survivable. Pay attention to reality. Ah, reality. What is reality? Reality is a crutch, the definition of an old hippie. Who needs reality if you have good fantasy? Reality is a clutch of friend, has an ancient van with an unreliable gearbox. This message is emblazoned on his dashboard. Reality is what remains after you stop believing in it. This should be obvious. Does gravity disappear if you don't believe in it? Reality is what bites you in the ass if it affects you. Then it is real. Otherwise, why worry about it? I always choose the definition of biting you in the ass when planning off-road trips, just as I do when designing turbos and exhaust systems. Injury and death definitely bite your ass. Checking and packing went slowly and easily over several days and evenings. We were loaded, fueled, and ready for Thursday night. We all agreed on a shortened workday on Friday so we could start early. We looked into our offices, leafed through the documents, had a quick lunch, and left. It was very easy for Carol and Ted, who only had to give orders. Alice and I were stars at Luna dined, so we had no problems either. We easily opened the door to summer. Our little caravan set off just afternoon after the usual domestic squabbles. Ted and Carol both deserve PETA tattoos on their foreheads. Real bores, definitely. It was early enough in the afternoon that we didn't have to fight through hundreds of miles of traffic. We made it nice and easy to the edge of the urban area at the far end of San Bernardino and Redlands. Just a couple of drivers worth yelling at. Just a couple of trucks that tried to kill us. Carol was typing on her little Sony VO laptop as we drove and chatting about life. The kids and their schooling, our friends. That sort of thing. A little talking, a little keyboarding. This is the Little Mac project. That's what we call it. We contracted with the California Macadamia Council to develop a marketing plan to make macadamia the world's most popular nut. Peanuts are down, but almonds are up, as are pistachios. It's competition. You must be out of your mind, Toy, want to get this job. I joked. She gave me a nod. Funny grin. Okay. You've heard this before. Macadamia? Seriously. Do they even grow in California? Yes, they are growing, but not much. Most of them are from Australia, then Hawaii, then Central America and other places. The council believes increasing demand for macadamia nuts from anywhere will help local farmers. This is our job. I'm just trying to come up with ideas. She tapped the keys again. Well, they're delicious, of course, but there are also a lot of other things that don't sell that well. I jerk the steering wheel slightly to get around the slow pickup truck. It's not just cocktail nuts and snacks. They make pasta flour. You must try the honey macadamia pancakes, poppy milk, poppy oil, macaroni cheese. This one is not so good macaroni. Candies. Yes, all sorts of different things. But there is not much public awareness about all this. Yes, that's our job. Attract attention and awareness. So you're developing an advertising strategy. It's not like your normal trick. No, not traditional advertising. The Macadamia Council wanted some cute slogans like Mac's Snack Attack or I'm excited about Mac's really stupid things on TVs and billboards. This is the 20th century. No, we will do a viral campaign on the internet. We will create friendly, relaxed blogs. We will carefully infiltrate newsgroups, forums, and chats. But no spam, no garbage. This is chicken shit. Let's make it feel spontaneous, organic, with recipe clubs and ideation sessions, all very unobtrusive. And this will only be an online campaign? Has anyone tried this before? Some have tried. We monitor how others are trying to do this. The nice thing is that it's really, really cheap. No expensive media costs, no mass targeting. It's more about creating an atmosphere, build an environment where macadamia is a given. A basic product. Macadamia is on every shopping list. And how do you build an atmosphere? I looked at the thick smog surrounding us and imagined nutty steam. There are millions of possible approaches, and we can try all of them almost for free. Each tactic gets its test. Change a few words and images and measure the reaction. Leave what works and throw away what doesn't. Our software generates automatic posts that feel personalized. The AI program reads the answers and corrects the answers or calls for human help. These are really the only expenses, and we take them abroad. Oh, hey. And she tapped on the keys again. We were surrounded by high mountains when we were interrupted. Carol picked up the VHF radio from the dashboard. Say it again, Alice. I didn't catch it, I said. We could use a break. Let's stop at the dinosaurs in Cabazon. Got it. We'll take the Cabazon exit. Meet me under the Brontosaurus. Well, it was actually a 150-foot-long concrete apatosaurus. There is no such thing as a Brontosaurus, but that is what it was called when it was built. I drove our sandy beige Land Cruiser to the toilets. Ted's red Sequoia pulled up right behind us. Women jumped into the toilets. Ted and I stretched out and looked at the dinosaurs Big Dinny and the tall T-Rex. Cabazon is almost a village in a deep gap between the high mountain ranges. San Bernardino to the north and San Jacinto to the south. Dinosaurs dominated the highway side for decades until the Morongo Cahula Indians built a multi-story casino resort nearby,
I'll never forget the first time I stopped here with Alice.
Ted said. He took a sip from the soda can and waved at Dinny. This was before our wedding. I took her with me to a real estate conference in Palm Springs. We got here from Los Angeles, and she needed a break just like today. She finished, and we walked up the stairs to the gift shop inside Dinny's belly. There was no one there. Ted gestured again at the huge beast. Alice was hot, very hot. We were caressing each other while I was driving. So she just took off her panties, and I had sex with her right inside the dinosaur. He laughed. And now there's a creationist museum here. These guys are really stupid. But it suits me because they are not too critical of the terms of the contract. Damn how I love selling to such fanatical fundamentalist cretinism. They will believe anything. Even when he's right and funny, Ted can be annoying. Alice came out of the restroom, looking slightly annoyed but not completely angry. Carol appeared a moment later, walking more slowly. I guessed that their quarrel inside was not too unpleasant. Why did I assume that? They had a fight because they did it often. Two alpha females and no submission. We returned to our cars. I took the lead again. Carol began to speak. I raised my hand. I don't want to hear it. Just stop attacking Alice. Carol opened her mouth. I waved my hand. Again. No, just no. She returned sullenly to her VO. The sun was high and shining strongly as we crossed Whitewater Pass, a 2-mile gap in the coastal mountains, and descended past Sweltering Palm Springs into the Colorado Desert region below sea level. Checkpoints: Desert Hot Springs, Palm Desert, Indio for stopping at the gas station and grabbing date milkshakes. Then again above sea level and through the Kyriaco Pass into the Chuqualla Valley. South to the fork in the mine road before Desert Center. And here we are. We stopped at a gravel crossing through a barn. Everyone went out to warm up, breathe in some summer dust, and assess the situation. I waved to Ted the map laid out on the hood of my Land Cruiser. He approached with a theatrical but completely unnecessary shadow. Where is the path, Camasabe? Ted closed his eyes and looked around. The sun was behind us. There, native, I gestured to the southeast and grinned. Ted either didn't know or didn't care. That native meant idiot in Spanish. I pointed to the map. We'll take the Red Cloud Mine Trail and head into the Chuqualla Mountains. The trail behind the mine is difficult but passable, and I know a good place to camp. Of course, we still have 3 or 4 hours of daylight, but the sooner we get down tonight, the sooner we can start in the morning. Great, I brought some smoke. Yes, we'll have a real party, Alice responded to her husband's statement with a slight roll of her eyes. We die-hard engineers smoked a little to relax. Of course we did. But our executive partners smoked a little more for excitement, I thought. To myself, Ted better not be too smitten in the morning when we're driving on difficult trails. We climbed back into the cars and drove into the desert mountains. I let us pass skinny prickly Arcadios, prickly jumping collars, and majestic prickly pear cacti, spreading green croissota and yucca bushes up a steep trail through narrow, deep gorges to a wide, flat area where Carol and I had stopped before. I parked in a familiar spot next to the fire pit. Ted followed. I chose this place based on the real-to-rule location. Location open but private. No one can sneak up on us. Yes, it made a difference for privacy, but mostly it was in direct line of sight to the cell tower at Kyriaco Pass. We called home to say we had arrived safely. That's it. It's starting. Carol screamed as she jumped out of the Land Cruiser. We are back in nature. So let's all be naturist. I need to feel the air. She pulled her loose shorts and panties over her hiking boots and threw off her bikini top. Damn, this is so great. She looked great too. I took off my t-shirt and shorts, leaving only my climbing boots. Ted quickly followed suit, ogling Carol. Alice winced slightly but also shed her clothes. Her pale, freckled Celtic skin couldn't handle much direct sun, but this late evening light was soft. I've done my share of looking at our sexy ladies too. We set up quick opening tents, laid out tables and chairs, and set up a minimal kitchen, slapping bare asses as they walked by. The camp has been set. Carol turned on some energetic salsa music on her boombox and started dancing. Her large tan breasts were bouncing deliciously. I joined her dance. Ted placed a box under the table full of wine, cocktails, and beer. Alice handed out drinks to everyone and danced around Ted, her long, straight hair flowing like cherry cider. The sun sank behind the high western mountains as we nudist tumbled and howled. The cool wind in the shaded areas forced us all to wear light, long-sleeved shirts. Ted and Alice prepared a hot dinner while Carol and I built a fire using compressed wood. No, we will not burn. Local vegetation. Dinner, wine, cleaning, jokes, and singing, staring into the fire, crawling into our tents for loud sex and even louder snoring. It was a good night. The cool desert morning wind was not conducive to nude play. We all emerged from the tents in tracksuits and rumpled smiles. Alice lit the Coleman gas stove to boil water for a Mexican mocha. Instant coffee plus cocoa plus tequila. Ted made us some hearty burritos. Breakfast of champions. We warmed ourselves by the morning fire, and after Ted and Carol chatted about business, we continued chatting about the day ahead. Carol's folding chair sat next to mine. It was a great race last night and this morning. Bobby, where are we going today? I laughed. You do most of the racing, baby. I'm just your little pony, and today we'll ride into the sunset or something. Alice put her hand on Ted's thigh.
Hello, Silver.
She whispered. Don't be a lonely stranger. Ted laughed and squeezed his wife's breast. Oh, I just love going down into a dark canyon, he said hoarsely, even with ambushes. Well, guys, once you're safely out of the love mine, we'll try a different kind of rough ride. See? I waved the compass in the air. Where we are going is basically an area with no cell service or GPS. As soon as we leave the camp, the phones will die, and any rock wall above 45 degrees will block satellites and GPS. So let's keep our VHF radios on. We can send obscene signals back and forth as long as we're not too disconnected. Alice, you can talk dirty about that XJ9E project that excites you. Carol slapped my hand. Try this and you'll learn more than you ever wanted to know about macadamia. Nuts. I think they make oil for intimate lotions. Jokes, banter, and giggles rang out as we broke up camp. Our gear was folded and packed, firmly secured to withstand the rough roads. The trash was burned. The coals from the fire are carefully filled with urine. The only traces we left were cold ashes and disturbed dust. We are responsible tourists. This day was fun. We raced along broken, dry riverbeds and along difficult rocky paths to old mines and adits. We had to chain our subs to get over some steep muddy spots and broken chasms. We got dirty. We didn't worry about clothing during the hot day other than wearing sturdy shoes and towels tied to the car. Seats to absorb sweat and liquids. We wandered around in full sun at every stop. Hooray! And somehow, we avoided falling into the cactus thickets. By evening, we were all sweaty, dirty, and exhausted. As we settled into our new campsite, the shower we installed at camp was very useful, like the tequila sunrise dessert and hard, noisy sex after dinner. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Our new camp was in direct line of sight to a cell tower. We called home to check on the condition. Carol's parents handled the children's minor crises with usual aplomb. Nobody really noticed us. Carol and Ted connected their mini laptops to USB cellular adapters and contacted their office servers to transfer emails and notes. Everything was calm. Well, everything was calm except for the weather forecast. We have received a warning of a storm rising from the southeast. Monsoon a month early. Rains usually arrive from the Gulf of Mexico in early July. In Tucson, tradition is dry. On the 4th, wet on the 5th. But not this year. Looks like those guys talking about climate change were right. The forecast was that it wouldn't reach us until late on Memorial Day, after we headed back. So no problem, right? Problems could wait until tomorrow. Oh, that's the problem. Coyotes howled in the distance. Strange lights stranded. There were fires in the sky and distant roars and blows could be heard. This wasn't surprising. We were camped north of a shooting range in the Chocolate Mountains where the military practiced bombing and strafing anything they could get there. Hands on. The strobes were flashing. The coyotes howled again. Summer beetles flew and crawled. Navy and Marine pilots flew overhead. I don't know about you, but I find that kind of flash and rumble exciting. Carol, too. Even more flashes and roars in the sky and howls and roars in the distance translated into even greater noise and roars on the ground. Dawn came earlier than yesterday. This camp was located on the eastern slope of the Chuqualla and caught the glimmer of the sun. Rising over the expanse of the Sonoran Desert, stretching more than 100 kilometers to the invisible Colorado River, the western shore of Arizona, the quiet calls of desert thrushes. Nightjars and doves echoed all around us. We dressed lightly in shorts and t-shirts for another breakfast of champions. We packed up camp and drove up the mountain over the saddle, back onto the western slope into a tight network of deep rocky cuts under those creepy Joshua trees and massive ironwood trees just below the zone of pinyon pines and junipers. Descending a steep sandy riverbed. I misjudged the turn. We slid and hit a hard granite block of quartz monzonite. I pressed the gas pedal. The engine responded, but the car did not move. Oops. At that moment, Ted and Alice's Sequoia were ahead. I honked my horn to get their attention. Ted backed up carefully. We all stood up and surveyed the situation. Smart move, smart guy, Ted grumbled. I had to agree. Let me take a look. I slid under the car. The oil pan looked fine, as did everything else except for the drive shaft spider. She's broken. Crap. I crawled outside and delivered the bad news. You took the tools and spare parts, right? Carol demanded. Tools? Yes. Lots of spare parts? Yes. There is no spare cross piece. I could maybe put it together if we had welding equipment, but we don't. I felt sad. What about soldering? Alice asked. You brought a soldering kit, didn't you, Ted? Yes, it's there, Ted said. But will the soldered cross hold up? I thought about it. No, not with really rough use. It will likely handle a fairly smooth ride as long as it isn't pushed too hard, no sudden starts or stops, just even pressure. But you may have to drag us back to I-10, or at least to the last descent. Once we get there, it's only a few miles to Desert Center. I can find a replacement for the cross there. You better get out the soldering kit. Ted, we don't want to be stuck here all day, Carol ordered. Yes, Your Highness now, Your Majesty, Ted mumbled and grumbled as he rummaged around in the back of the Sequoia. I mumbled my own as I removed the hydraulic jacks and toolbox from their hiding places. We raised the damaged Land Cruiser on jacks. I slid under him. Alice handed me instruments, the way a nurse hands surgical clamps and scalpels. Removing the broken part was easier than I expected, because a strong, cool wind rose from the southeast. The wind was very refreshing, even damp. Wet. Oops. I got out. Alice helped me up. Ted and Carol stood a short distance away, talking quietly. I looked up at the increasing cloudiness in the sky. Alice's eyes followed mine. I heard her swallow. Is this what it looks like? Alice asked. Yes, she came to the same conclusion as me. The monsoon is blowing too early, isn't it? A drop of rain hit my forehead. The other fell on her glasses. She automatically wiped away the moisture. Even more rain soaked the girls' t-shirts, who were not wearing bras underneath. I think I better get to work. Cleaning and soldering the parts did not take much time. The connected part hissed, cooling under the occasional drops of rain. I covered it with a piece of cactus to protect it from the increasing rain. Hey guys, I called to Ted and Carol. Conference time is over. We need to get out of this riverbed now. They looked at me questioningly. I nodded at the clouds above the peaks that were creeping towards us. This is the time and place for flash floods. Ted, take the chains. Let's see, I said, looking around, and then pointed to a hill. 100 yards away, we'll be safe up there, but we need to move. It was a little difficult. We chained the cars together and secured the cable from the Sequoias. Front winch to a thick old iron tree halfway up the slope. 4-wheel drive plus a winch were enough to pull the Land Cruiser out of the riverbed and almost to the anchor tree, and just in time. We heard a rumble almost like one of yesterday's passing planes, but much closer and louder. The ground shook. The rock embankments rumbled, and then hell fell upon us. A seething, roaring stream. Waves of muddy water carried boulders, uprooted bushes, tree debris, the bodies of barrel cacti, and even an antelope. 90 seconds ago, we would have been swept away by this whirlpool too. I looked at Carol in the passenger seat. Her natural tan had turned almost albino pink. Oh crap, she whispered. That was pretty close, wasn't it? She was shaking. I extended my hand to her. Too close, but we're safe now, at least from flooding. We'll get out of here. Don't worry. I gently stroked her bare thigh. In fact, I wasn't particularly concerned about myself. The radio crackled. I pressed the button. How's it going, buddy? There was a joking note in Ted's voice, but it was slightly tense. Everything is fine now, and thank you for your help. But we better get up even higher to that flat area so I can get back under the car and put everything back together. There's a big pine tree up there that we can anchor to. A few minutes later, we were pulled out and taken to a stable place. Storm clouds passed past the peaks. The wind and rain stopped. The clouds have cleared. Spots of sunlight filtered through it. We stood together in this sudden silence. Well, damn, that was exciting, Alice said. What now? We're not going anywhere for at least an hour, I said. This will be enough time to make sure that we are not washed away again, and for the sand to dry out and become hard enough for driving. Carol, and I thought about that before we came up here. Ted said, your soldered cross may or may not hold up. Now, this waterway leads directly to the Red Cloud Mine Trail, right? We thought. We could go to the parts store in Desert Center and buy a new one. They only cost a few bucks, right? And if we're going to do it, it better be today. Tomorrow is a holiday and most places will be closed. I thought about it. Yes, that sounds reasonable, but maybe you should take Alice. Why does Carol have to come with you? Because it was my idea, and besides, I haven't ridden Sequoia yet. My wife sounded determined. Alice looked at Carol, then at me. Oh, let them go. I thought that maybe she was annoyed by having to listen to their banal conversations about business and entertainment. I hesitated, but it looks like I was out-argued. Okay, let me find the part number. Take an original part, not a Chinese one, and keep the radio on. Just in case. We set up a tarpaulin and canopy on the back of the Land Cruiser and unfolded a table and chairs. We made ourselves comfortable while we waited. I walked down to the riverbed and stepped onto the compacted sand, testing it. It seemed to be quite dense. The water stopped flowing an hour ago. I got back up. Alice and I hugged and kissed our companions before they left. You know what it's all about, right? Alice turned to me. No, tell me. I didn't have any warnings. They want to spend time together to have sex. I probably did the classic open mouth. What? Facial expression. What, cheating on us? My Carol? You're Ted. I shook my head. That's what this weekend is about. They planned it. Not damage, of course, but they knew that they would find an excuse to leave together to be alone. Alice looked sad but convinced. What makes you think? They're planning something. Ted is a little sloppy with email and passwords and computer security in general. It sends emails to the delete folder and empties the trash, even defragments the drive, but doesn't clean the drive so they're easy to recover. In addition to being a wonderful circuit engineer, Alice was also a DOS, Windows, and Unix guru. She knew this matter, and she knew about security and encryption. Some of the little things he did and said made me suspicious. Hacking. His laptop was child's play. I'm sure there are marks on Carol's Veo too. Do you want to watch? My insides were beginning to churn, and not from hunger. Do I want to see evidence of the infidelity of the woman I've loved my whole life? Do I want to know that I have been betrayed? Not really. But I think it's better to look. Let's see if she left it in the car. Carol took her bag, but not her laptop. I turned it on. Alice took over and played the keyboard like a maestro. What's her usual password? She seems to be mostly using her date of birth, October 20th, 65. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, here's her mail. HM, nothing strange. Let me restore her letters from the last couple of weeks. Tip top, tip top. Yeah, there are a bunch of letters from and to Ted, but they are encrypted with a different password. Alice tried several password cracking schemes. Maybe my date of birth, I suggested. Wait, I have an idea. She pressed the keys again and quietly exclaimed, I found it. Guess what? She used Ted's date of birth. She scrolled through the decrypted messages on the screen. It was all there in the light of the glowing symbols of the LCD screen. Conspiracies, plans, love notes. It seemed like they were purposefully seducing each other. And they've been having sex for at least a few weeks now. There were also references to a project. That could lead to some legal issues, but none of the letters contained details of the project. What is this project? Alice muttered quietly, almost under her breath. Let me look at the My Documents folder. Type top, type top. No, nothing there, nothing obvious. Where else could this be? She ran her finger across the Explorer window. Oh yes, a flash drive. I wonder what's on it. A few more keys and one more? Aha, Ted's password. Again. Yes, and then, oh shit. I moved closer to Alice, our heads almost colliding. We read it. Together. Ted's clients and Carol's clients' fraud plans. Plans to empty their accounts and transfer money to offshore banks. Plans to follow the money outside the S. Plans to simply abandon their families. Alice shook her head. I knew Ted had some kind of scheme, but I never expected something like this. I've never found anything like this on his laptop. I'm sure they both keep There's sensitive data on flash drives, nothing on their servers or hard drives. If Carol had taken out the flash drive, we would never have known. She looked at me. As long as they kept their computers offline when the flash drives were inserted and removed them before connecting, then no amount of searching would ever have discovered this. The highest data transmission. Security is simply handing someone a flash drive. I was overcome with paranoia. They don't think they can just get away with it, do they? No, they must have some kind of backup plan. Escape. Goat, who will be framed? Are we in danger? Alice's eyes locked on mine. Do you think they'll try to set us up? Wouldn't you think so? I asked. Yes, paranoia cut deep into me. She returned to the keyboard. I'll look in the later files. Yeah, here they are. Type top, type top. Damn, this is a setup. She pointed at the screen. They will pass all the stolen money through our personal accounts and then arrange their disappearance, but with traces, indicating that we staged the fraud and got rid of our innocent spouses when they began to suspect. They are leaving for real. We're going to prison. Nice. A hurricane of thoughts rushed through my head. This is not rocket science. This was worse. Do you want to know what I thought and felt at that moment? A mixture of unformed explosions in my mind. A whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. Aloud, this can't happen echoed through the empty corridors of my hopes. Rumbling in the stomach, almost to the point of nausea. Confusion. Pain. I looked at Alice. As you asked before, what now? Well, I think our happy marriages are over. Kaput. What can we do? Contact the police. If Ted and Carol get arrested, they'll spend all our money on lawyers. We'll be penniless. And our kids. Hell, I don't even know what. I don't have family here like you do. No support. She looked the saddest I've ever seen her. I touched her chin. We are engineers. Let's structure the problem in possible paths, right? She nods zero. I continued. So it is given. Our satellites are lost to us. They are planning to set us up in a big way. No matter what we do, divorce is inevitable. What else? We can report them to the police. And like you said, they will ruin us. We can tell them we know what they're up to and just kick them out. And then they can fight over child custody and property division and all that and still bankrupt us. Can we try to shut down their business and put them out of business? Can we? I left the thought unspoken, but Alice understood my face. No. No violence, no physical attacks. It's not even the last option. I sighed. I could never physically harm Carol anyway, no matter what she planned or did. I loved her too much. I saw similar feelings flash across Alice's face, her lips, her cheeks, and her eyes. I sighed again, but the image remained in my brain like a film soaked in death. Alice and me waiting on the slope. Sequoia rises again along the riverbed. We are pushing a bunch of stones. The car rolls down, crushing our changing companions. What a tragedy. But no, we can't do that. I tried to be logical. Again, okay? What are our immediate options? Should we report them now or wait until we get home? Shall we try to send a message, maybe to Lunadine, something that will keep us safe to show that we know what's going on? I felt like I was grasping at straws. Alice perked up. This is a good start. Can we see a cell tower? We can call our offices. It's a holiday weekend, so all calls will go straight to voicemail. We can say we found out. Then, if anything happens to us, there will be a trail to follow. And if there are arrests, we will have it all documented. And I have extra flash drives. I'll copy everything and we'll have even more evidence. Great idea, I said. But we still need to get out of here safe and sound, so we have to act stupid when they come back. Everything's fine for now. We will behave as usual. But yes, you need to make advance calls. You start copying all the letters and notes. I'll try to find a good signal. I checked the topographic map. I knew our location roughly, and the map showed a direct line to a cell tower from a nearby hollow just a few hundred feet above us. I see a good option. I shouted to Alice as I walked up the slope. I held my Nokia phone like a water-searching rod, trying to catch the flow. Not a single stripe. I rose higher. Not a single stripe. I reached the saddle. Nothing either. Maybe at the top of one side of the saddle. I thought. I climbed onto a pile of stones. The pile of granite boulders rose 25 feet above the surface of the slope. Many of the boulders were 10 feet across. Prickly pear cacti protruded from some of the cracks. I carefully climbed to the top and pulled the phone out of my pocket. One stripe. There is a signal, I shouted. Then I screamed something inarticulate. When I turned around, the stone pile had shifted. That is, she moved. That is, the huge fucking pile of huge fucking rocks that I climbed on. Decided to move to another place. That is down. And I'm with her. It's a very strange feeling. Everything around is silent. You are standing on top of the world. Then the world goes away and you fall. And the world falls with you. And not small grains of sand in the world, huge fucking pieces of the world. Most of them much larger than you already and capable of turning you into strawberry puree in an instant. I danced down this rock pile with boulders as dance partners. Pain. I expected to hear. Nothing, just oblivion. But this did not happen when the sound appeared. Again, I heard a crash around me. I didn't hear my ankle click. I heard myself mutter, "Oh shit. Do you believe in miracles?" Until this moment, I didn't really believe it. After that moment, I was alive and conscious and unbruised, lying on a rough sandy hill, completely unharmed. Except for a numb, broken ankle. Miracle. Alice ran up the hill to where I was lying. "Bobby, oh Bobby," she sobbed. She threw herself on the ground next to me. "Bobby, please be alive. Please don't be dead. Oh Bobby, Bobby." I looked from the nearest peak to her tear-stained face. "I'm not dead, Alice. I'm not even seriously injured. But my ankle is broken. That's all I think. Calm down, Alice." Alice clung to me, lying in the damp sand, clinging to me, kissing my face and sobbing. "Oh damn, Bobby, I heard that crash and I looked up and you were falling along with these huge stones. I thought you were definitely dead. You are my best friend, Bobby. I can't lose you." "Oh damn, Bobby." Alice pulled herself together and sat down. She stood up and brushed sand from her denim shorts and the open shirt she had thrown over her damp t-shirt. She wasn't wearing a bra. "You can't stay here. I'll take you down to the Land Cruiser. Maybe, yes, if you can stand on one leg, I will support you." We walked slowly down the hill to the car, hopping on my good leg, with my arm around Alice's shoulders. One shaky step at a time. A couple of times we almost fell into the prickly pear of thickets. I carefully sat down in the folding chair. Alice lifted my legs onto another chair so my legs were elevated as I leaned back. It almost felt like a vacation. "You can't stay there either. I'll set up camp and help you into the tent. You need to lie down away from the sun and weather until they return." Alice moved with the equipment and soon had me settled in the tent, protected, with my feet on inflatable pads. My head was at the doorway of the tent. She sat down on the ground next to me. "You're lucky, besides the fact that you weren't crushed into a cake. But I remember enough first aid from my Girl Scout days. Your legs are elevated. You are not in shock. Your skin is not sticky. Your pupils are not constricted, only pain." She rummaged through her medical bag. "Okay, here are the painkillers. It's better not to drink them with tequila." I swallowed the pills with Gatorade. "But now we can only wait. Ted was a medic in the Army. He will know what to do with you. Remember, we have to act stupid. Don't give them any suspicion." We waited, chatted, made plans, and waited. The sun has passed its zenith. It felt like summer had arrived. Ted and Carol were gone for 5 hours. Okay, I could understand that the drive to Desert Center and back would take an hour each way. But 3 more hours. I wonder what excuses they'll come up with. We heard the occasional crackle in the radio, but never a clear signal. Alice tried to contact through several channels, but received no response. The rock canyons blocked radio waves too well. It seemed that we were in a dead zone where no electromagnetic radiation passed through. Finally, we heard the roar of the engine. The Sequoia walked up the riverbed, then up the slope and parked next to the Land Cruiser. When Ted and Carol came out, they looked dirty and unkempt. "Hey guys, sorry it took so long. We had to pull tree trunks and..." Debris from the trails. The winch couldn't cope with everything we had to work hard, Ted explained. Ah, so here it is. An excuse. Hey, Bobby, my beautiful wife said to me, why are you in the tent? Are you okay? I had a little accident, I said. Fell from a pile of rocks. Just damn clumsy of me. I know my ankle is broken. I think that's it. Carol looked shocked. She ran to the tent and knelt down next to me. Oh God, Bobby, are you okay? She held my head while she asked this stupid question. If I were okay, I wouldn't be lying here, I thought to myself. Like I said, it's been better, but I think it's still relatively good. I smiled weakly. Ted went into combat medic mode and knelt next to me. Broken, right. Let me check you out. Alice, could you get my first aid kit? From the trunk? Yes, that's right. Carol, you're going to have to let go of his head. He looked at my pupils, felt my skin, skull and neck, took my pulse and measured my blood pressure. Your vital signs look good. He crawled into my tent and carefully felt my leg. Does it hurt? And this? Moon. Okay, this really hurts. Yes, it really is broken. I can use a quick method. He pulled out an air splint from his first aid kit, wrapped it around my swollen ankle and inflated it. Are you on painkillers? I nodded. That's all I can do right now. I can give you a Demerol injection if it hurts too much. Nothing looks life-threatening, but you need an X-ray soon. And I want to make sure you don't go into shock. The question is, Carol told Ted, what to do now? Are you going to try and tow us or just take Bob to the doctor or what? I intervened. Look, I can't walk, but I can crawl and the rest of me is still working. You can push me under the Land Cruiser and I can bolt on the new Spider. And then, I don't know, I think I need to position myself in the back seat so that I can lie down with my leg raised and fixed. Alice, you're a good driver, better than Carol off-road, right? Carol nodded. I'll admit it, I'm not good at driving on rough terrain. Well, okay, said Ted. Alice and I will be driving. Now, let's fix the Land Cruiser and get ready to leave. The sooner we get out of here, the better. Rare drops of rain fell around us. Yes, the sooner, the better. 3 people helped me slide under the car. I quickly replaced the crosspiece. I was surprised when Carol told Ted and Alice to walk for a few minutes, and she climbed in next to me and hugged me on the side where I had no injury. Phew. Bobby, are you okay? For real? Without any nonsense, she looked and sounded worried. Did this woman really intend to betray me as I read in her notes and letters? I knew she could play and manipulate very well. Was she faking it now? It seemed like everything looked real. As I already said, it has been better. I admit I was a little worried when those boulders moved out from under me. Oh, Bobby, I couldn't bear to lose you. I just couldn't. Carol slid down my body, unbuckled my belt and my fly, and pulled my jeans and panties down to my waist, just a little. She looked into my eyes. I will do anything for you. All. I want you to. Be relaxed when we get out of here. I can't watch you suffer. Damn, she was good. Oscar level performance. The rain was getting heavier as they carefully pulled me out from under the car and loaded me inside. The passenger seat was tilted forward and half of the back seat was emptied. And covered with unfolded sleeping bags, they laid me on my back, head first, with my feet on a pillow made from sleeping bags. Ted secured my leg to keep it still so I wouldn't hit my ankle. Is everyone ready? Carol's voice came over the radio. I pressed the microphone. Looks like we're ready here. Okay, let's go. Ted took over leadership. Alice kept a distance of about 20 yards or more. On the steeper slopes, the rain was now falling in a thick, dark downpour. I can't even see Sequoia. This is fucking disgusting, Alice said. I couldn't see the surrounding area, just the unyielding sky. But I had to agree. I pressed the radio button again. Do you see anything there? What does the road look like? Carol's voice crackled over the radio. We're around the bend right in front of you. I think we're approaching a side channel and the radio went off. I heard a roar and a blow. And then a roar again. Stop, I shouted. Alice slowed from a crawling speed to a complete stop. I pressed the radio button again. Carol, are you there? Carol? Answer me. Nothing. Alice pressed the handbrake and jumped out of the door. She returned 8 seconds later, looking scared. Hold on, she screamed. I clung tightly to the back of the seat beneath me as Alice stepped back, then walked up the side path to the stone slab, tilted upward about 30 degrees. What? I tried to ask. My voice was drowned in a new roar behind us. Alice cried. Loudly, heavily, clinging to the steering wheel with both hands, she looked in the rearview mirror, then lowered herself and continued to sob. They are gone, she sobbed. Water. Flash flood. The riverbeds behind us and below us are simply cleared to the ground. They are no more. Her thin body was shaken by sobs. Oh damn, what am I going to tell the kids? Are they not there? Are Ted and Carol gone? Oh damn, our children. Carol's parents. They are here nearby. My parents are dead and Alice and Ted's parents are in another part of the country. And Ted and Carol had employees. Wait, why do I say were? Why in the past tense? Am I assuming they are dead? Alice, how sure are you? Try the radio again. Maybe they managed to find a safe place. Try it. Come on. She desperately tried to cling to hope. I pressed the radio button again. Nothing. And again, and again, and still nothing. The storm front passed. The rain stopped, and the sky cleared. That's all I could see from my lying position. Wait here. Don't go anywhere, Alice ordered me uselessly. She put the handbrake on the car and jumped out into the cool air, leaving the door open. The key in the ignition continued to beep. During the minutes that she was gone, the road below seems clear, she said when she returned. I'll try to get us down. I'll stop wherever it's safe and look for Sequoia. You can keep trying. The walkie-talkie. So you didn't see any traces of them? I asked. She shook her head gloomily. Alice led us slowly down the mountain. We saw and heard nothing about our companions. She stopped at our first overnight stop, where we had direct line of sight to a cell tower. Alice took out her Nokia and dialed 911. When the police arrived, we won't say anything about what Ted and Carol are up to, right? Alice was worried, right? Maybe you should erase the recycle bin in Carol's Veo if you have time and hide the flash drives. We don't need endless investigations over the next few years. This is exactly what I was thinking. Fraud and theft were planned, but not yet carried out. There's no need to scare the cops. The sun was only an hour above the western horizon when the first helicopter carrying rangers from Joshua Tree National Park to our north arrived. A few minutes later, a West Navy evacuation helicopter landed from a base in the Salton Sea area. Corps doctors quickly examined me and stated that I was alive, slightly in shock and hypothermic, and I had atrial fibrillation, that is, my heart was working intermittently. They quickly loaded me up and took me to Eisenhower Medical Center in Palm Springs. Despite her objections, Alice had to stay behind to deal with the Rangers and the Sheriff and Highway patrol helicopters that arrived shortly thereafter. By that time, I didn't know who felt worse, her or me. It was by far the worst Sunday I could remember. I watched the dust deepen outside the window of the ward. I was under observation in good condition overnight observation. They said they weren't particularly concerned about my reactions to the fracture. They were more concerned about my hypothermia and atrial fibrillation and my heart. My mother had atrial fibrillation, so it must be genetic. The use of cell phones in the hospital was prohibited. I was very nervous and waited for any news from Alice. The outside world darkened along with my mood. Feelings of guilt swarmed in my head. I imagined their deaths, saw mental pictures of them being crushed by a rock fall. But what happened was much worse. Even though it wasn't my fault and I had nothing to do with it, I still felt guilt mixed with pain, loss, loneliness, emptiness. The world I knew is overfinished. Sayonara. What would I have done and experienced if it had not ended like this? And Alice? Divorce? Protection? Depression? If Carol hadn't cheated with Ted, if they hadn't agreed, if Alice had not found out about their betrayal, and if we had not discovered their criminal plans, if only I had not fallen on a pile of stones so that we would not try to leave during the storm. If only we had gotten out of there unharmed. but with their plot still in limbo if they were caught. With or without our help, if only they were still alive. If only a quarrel broke out in the hospital corridor at about 10 o'clock. The door to the room burst open and Alice rushed in, overtaking two small Filipino nurses. So call the damn security if you want, but you better bring some healthy guys to get me out of here because you're definitely going to need it. She saw me and ran up. Oh, damn. Bobby, oh, damn. She hugged me with her dirty arms and pressed her sweaty face to mine. Oh, Bobby. She finally let me go and stood up. Our fingers intertwined. Any news? I asked. She nodded resigningly. They didn't have to do a big search operation. A highway patrol helicopter spotted them en route. They found the remains of the Sequoia about 1.5 miles away from us, along a side channel. The car was completely destroyed, and Ted and Carol's bodies too. She squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. They're gone, Bobby. She cried and clung to me. I hugged her shoulders. We held each other and were silent. A stern nurse, probably the head of the department, and 2 guards entered the room. Look, we have a pretty flexible schedule for visits like this, but you really shouldn't treat my nurses like that. Miss Olson, you have 5 more minutes. Then my guys will show you off. Don't waste your time. The nurse left. The guards remained. I called everyone, Alice said. Carol's parents will bring all the children here tomorrow. They wanted to charter a flight and fly in tonight, but I said no. My father, Ted's mother, and your sister will be home late tomorrow. What will you do tonight? I hope you're not going to sit by the bed. Ha, you're not sick enough for this. No, I got a motel room down the street. I need to sleep. But I'll be here in the morning and we'll figure out what's what. She leaned over and kissed me. Tenderly, a light touch of her lips. I was already thinking about the future, I said, squeezing her hand. We're great friends, Alice. We are not soulmates. We're not a romantic couple. She nodded and squeezed back tightly. And I really want us to remain friends, no matter what it takes. She nodded again. Yes, I want to stay friends too, but maybe with privileges. Her half smile was timid. Now it was my turn to nod and smile. Perhaps we will get there. We experienced long, tearful meetings with our families. Our children recovered faster than our older relatives. Life went on. The Riverside County Medical Examiner correctly ruled the deaths of Theodore Olson and Carolina Ortega as accidental. No one except Alice and I knew about their betrayal and conspiracy. We buried them in Forest Lawn and hid the flash drives just in case. Ted and Carol were insured. The payments paid off our mortgage and left large college funds for our 4 daughters. Alice and I are still working, but not in need. Some of our efforts have landed on Mars. Some are heading to the far reaches of the solar system. We were proud of our achievements. Ted and Carol's companies have been taken over by their deputies and are running just fine without their titular executives. Alice and I are half owners. The income is comfortable. We decided that we were truly friends with benefits and something more. The Ortegas moved into the Olsons' house next. Dor and I moved into Alice's bedroom. We only needed to rearrange some furniture. Our status as friends with benefits only lasted a few months. We got married on Halloween Day in a charming and spooky Gothic room near the Southwestern Museum. The ceremony was in costumes. We were bright. Alice and I don't usually talk about what would have been, but sometimes the topic creeps up on us. We lay in bed together, cooling down after intense sex. Alice pressed herself against my neck. Hey, best friend. What now? She twitched her nose. Well, next time you'll be the showgirl and I'll be the ass. How do you like it? What this again? Well, fine if you insist, or maybe we can play with pygmies and hyenas. Sure, why not? I felt silent for a moment. You know, it's funny. Yes, I know. It's funny that we're here. We could never have expected. We never thought it would turn out this way. I had no plans for you, honestly. I know you have always been a true gentleman. And I was always a hard-working mother, and we went our own ways. Do you think they thought we? And maybe that's why they went their own way. I loved my Caroline to madness, and I still love it. And I never thought of going somewhere without Ted, but they followed a different map. Malamapa, incorrect instructions. But how did they get to that page? I shook my head. What happened to divine justice? Alice put her fingers on my lips. You know better. They were careless, that's all. No magical payback. No karma. No fate. Bad luck follows. Carelessness. They were careless. End of story. My engineer-trained mind accepted this. My old Californian mind, raised among missions and caballeros and healers, was not so sure. I have a final word on the prickly pear cactus, also known as the Indian fig, Alpuntia ficus indica. They grow in huge thorny thickets and produce colorful flowers. The flowers vary in color depending on the variety and area, but can be green, yellow, orange, or red. Local varieties bloom only in the most intense sunlight. These summer flowers seem to glow like neon lights. They seem to glow like Carol's eyes did the last time I looked deeply into her face. I can never forget this. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you. And go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next.